The soundtrack to Freshers Week since 1976. This is URF.
Hello and welcome to the training video of how to use the equipment in the URF studio. We're going to give you a tour today of all the bits and pieces within the studio and show you how to use it. So let's go. Although some of the equipment isn't in tip-top condition, we do the best we can to facilitate you be able to do a fantastic show with the equipment we've got. Bearing in mind we also have got a grant coming through for the brand new studio of £20,000. So a lot of the equipment we have is a temporary measure, and if there are problems, do try and report them to us, but we hopefully will be able to keep on top of it as best we can. The first and most important part of our studio setup is the desk. Although it looks quite intimidating, once you know how to use it, it's fairly simple. Along the top of the desk are a number of inputs, and these inputs are controlled separately by the controls and sliders at the bottom of the desk. In simple terms, mic 1, which is input at the top of the desk, is controlled by slider 1 at the bottom of the desk, much like a volume control. By sliding this slider here up, you turn the volume up of the input number 1. By sliding it down, you turn the volume down. Pretty straightforward. Each of the inputs are marked separately so you know which slider controls which input. So what about these buttons in the middle? My advice, leave them well alone. They help to control each channel's input in a more specific way, but to be honest, when presenting a radio show, it's not entirely necessary, especially when you're a beginner. The only thing to bear in mind about these dials is that if you are having problems with the desk or think that the sound quality is a bit off, just set them all back to 0. Make sure they all point in the middle, and then you shouldn't have any problems with the quality or any changes in what you usually expect. The right hand side of the desk is well and truly the business end. This is where you have your master controls and your gauge, which will give you the levels of your audio. Similar to the way in which each individual slider controls individual inputs, the master slider controls all the inputs. Slide this slider up and down to adjust the volume of the entire inputs on the desk. The 0 mark on the stereo out master volume slider is a good position to have this slider in. This will become more clear shortly. Please be aware it is not necessary to adjust the grey slider on the left hand side of the master slider. This audio gauge helps you understand what levels your audio are playing out at. Lights will illuminate according to the level of your audio that is playing through the desk. Let's show you an example of how this works. By controlling the microphone with the slider and looking how visually it displays on the audio gauge. As I slide the microphone slider up, talk into the microphone, you can see that the lights illuminate according to the level at which I'm speaking. If I turn the volume up further, not only do the monitors give feedback, but you can also notice that the volume begins to peak. If the audio levels peak, not only is it unpleasant for you in the studio, but it makes it very unpleasant for the listeners at home. In short, whatever is playing through the desk via the inputs, controlled by the channels at the bottom, will show up on the right hand side of the desk. If you see the lights illuminating, something is going out on air. There is no on-air button or any kind of switch which will make it live. Effectively, what is playing through the desk is being broadcast online live. Mastering how to control audio levels will take time. However, a surefire way to make sure what you're playing sounds of a good quality, make sure that the sliders are around the 0 mark. Again, with the master volume around the 0 mark, and making sure that the green lights hit around the 0 mark on this. You may have to adjust the loudness of your voice the direction in which you're talking to the mic, or indeed the volume on devices that you are using. But these are 3 surefire ways to ensure that you are playing good quality sound live on air. For those of you coming to the show with iPods or laptops, you can connect them via these cables, and they're controlled in the same way as the rest of the desk, with these 2 channels here marked laptop 1 and laptop 2. Furthermore, you can use the computer in the studio to play music via YouTube or Spotify. We've got our own account, a premium account without adverts, so please feel free to play songs off that and make your own playlists if necessary. This little box here is the controller for the headphones. Input your headphones at the top. There are 2 currently available in the studio. Put them on and control the level within the headphones using the dial. Using the headphones is a great way to hear exactly what's going out on air. By using headphones rather than the monitors to hear what's being played out on air, you won't experience things like feedback. You will also be able to hear exactly what you're saying on air and notice the slightest little murmur or movement that will be picked up when played live on our website, which might not be audible when listening through the monitors. The final important part of the studio are the CD players. CD1, which will always contain the news bulletin, and CD2, which will contain a jingle CD. To open and close the CD desk, use the button marked open and close. And up here is where you can select tracks that are on the CD. To select between the tracks, use this white dial on the right hand side. And to select a specific part within the track, use this dial here. They're both quite tricky to use, but my advice is to just use this one on the right hand side as you skip through the tracks. So it's the start of the show and I want to play the news bulletin. I've lined up the track using the right hand side dial. I've turned up the volume on this mixer, and so I hit play. And you can now see that the news bulletin is playing out through the desk. The vinyl player is currently not in use and will be a feature of our new studio. And that's about it, folks. I've got the studio set up for the start of my show. I've plugged my laptop into the desk. I've got the mic set up, headphones ready, and a new CD ready to play. Take your time with it, guys. You will get familiar with the equipment as you progress throughout the year. Please do not hesitate to email any of the exec team with any questions.